good afternoon, Stephanie. Hello, sorry, can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Please, if you can hear me, can you signify?
Okay.
ba cikakken kwana biyu ya turo mun katin ɗari.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So if you can hear me, can you just signify, maybe drop an emoji or something? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So to get started, this is AWS Student Builders Group, Futminna chapter, and today we'll be talking about AWS certifications and student opportunities. That's like the opportunities in AWS, the careers in AWS, and all that. Um, I'll be your host for today. I'm John Caleb, the AWS Students Builder Group lead, and we have a special speaker today. Her name is Stephanie Abbott. She'll be presenting very soon. Yeah. So moving forward, today this is an outline of today's program. How we're going to go throughout today. Yeah. First of all, we'll start with the introduction. I will introduce like the AWS community in more like in a detailed form. Then we go on to talk about AWS cloud computing for beginners that may not know what these terms are. Then we'll go to AWS SBG. Yeah, we'll also talk about Students Builders Group and how they came to be, their purpose in the student's career. And Explore and Connect is the next item here. In Explore and Connect, we talk about resources, AWS resources that are helpful to students especially. Then we'll go to the main section with Stephanie, where she will share her career growth, certification, student opportunities, and all that. Yeah. Then up next we'll go to the Q&A section, where you ask all your questions. So during these sections, if you have any questions to ask, just keep them, just write them down. Then during the Q&A section, you can come and drop that on the group chat. Then the next step after that will be support and next steps. The support step is just basically some benefits attached to being part of the AWS leader group. Yeah, then we'll be done. Yeah, so welcome everyone. I welcome everyone, especially to this webinar. Just like I said previously, I'm your host. I'm John Caleb. I'm a software engineer, and a cloud engineer also. And we have Stephanie Albert. She's a cloud engineer, 2 times AWS certified professional, and an AWS community builder, very passionate about cloud technologies and helping others grow in tech. She brings practical industry experience and insights into our program for today. Yeah, she brings like a wealth of experience to our program today. All right. So let me just quickly move on. Yeah. So basically, this is the part where I said I will talk more about AWS and cloud computing, what it is, how how you, how it came to be, what you can learn, how you can grow in it. Just basically the terms, some definition of some the definition of some major terms that I'll be using today. So one of them is cloud computing. I know you might have heard this a lot of time. And cloud computing is just basically, just like it's written here, the delivery of computing resources such as servers, storage, database, networking stuff over the internet. Yeah, so it's just the basic explanation is like delivering of resources shared all over the world, like over the internet. Yeah. So yeah, it allows people to use technologies. You can use powerful virtual machines. You can own different servers in different locations around the world. That's just the concept of cloud computing, basically. Yeah. Then I moved to AWS. AWS is popularly known as Amazon Web Services. Yeah, it's owned by Amazon. Yeah, it's a cloud platform that you can use to manage these services. That you can use to manage this. That you can use to maybe to based coming from the cloud computing angle. That you can use to manage your resources that are on the cloud. Basically, there are a lot of services on AWS that you can use. I think our speaker will talk about it more, but there's a ton of them for different use cases. Yeah, that you can find. If you are a software engineer that you are building applications, there's a service for you to host it on, so for you to use. If you are maybe an AI engineer or something, there's something for you in AWS. No matter even machine learning, too, you have a space in AWS. There's a service for you to use always. There are over about 200 services that you can use, and you can check it out. Yeah. So basically, why does all this matter? It matters because cloud computing makes it easier to build, experiment, scale. Developers can access the infrastructure they need. Previously, before cloud computing, you have to, or without cloud computing, basically, you have to run those resources on your own. On your own, you have to be like on your computer. Like you don't have that coverage without cloud computing, basically. Yeah, so now you can deploy applications faster, you can push applications faster, and in a second, everybody around the world will be able to use your application. This is what cloud computing helps with. Without having to use their own data centers with their mobile phones, with their devices, they can access all this easily. Yeah, so that is what cloud computing basically helps with. Yeah, and now I added this section, this AI section, because of we are in like an age of AI right now. AI is everywhere basically in the tech world. Even startups that are coming up. Most startups that are being funded are AI startups across various sectors. So basically, there are roles that so far has um, let's say that has that the role there are roles that might not have much relevance like as before again. Stuff like let me see for example front end development. Now we have a lot of AI tools that can do front end development. In fact, AI, if you just prompt Claude build a website for me, it can simply bring out something for you to use. Yeah, but all this AI stuff, all this new shiny stuff that is taking over everywhere, still runs on cloud computing, still runs on power, on data, on storage. Still, just like I said earlier, if you are into AI, there's a service for you to use on AWS. Yeah, so all this AI infrastructure still runs on AWS. So cloud platforms are still very much relevant. Yeah, they still provide the foundation that allows modern AI applications to be run and built at scale. Yeah, so basically any AI model application can AWS can still have a part in it in your deployment stages in your cloud infrastructure. stages and everything. Yeah, so from these slides, you can see that AWS is a very important skill to learn. It's a very important concept to understand. So the next slide, I'll be talking about the leaders group, how it came to be, and yeah, it was basically just like about the AWS students leader group, specifically as Futminna. So AWS student leader group was created so that students can have access to AWS resources, so that students can have can connect more with AWS resources. Previously, before the leader group, most people that are on AWS are mostly professionals, people that are working, stuff like that. Yeah. So, but now, yeah, AWS leader group is incorporating the student life into AWS, so that more students can get to know about these technologies, get to grow even before they are done with school. Yeah, and you can also connect with fellow AWS leaders and professionals in the group. Thank you. Yeah, then what we do basically, we organize webinar, we organize workshop sessions, community activities, just like this one. We create space where students can learn, experiment, collaborate, turn knowledge into practical experience. Yeah, just like I said previously, with AWS Student Leader Group, you'll be able to have a lot of experience even before you're done with school. Yeah, and if you're in the IT course, it will even be much more beneficial to you. But regardless, no matter the sector, you can also still benefit from this group. Okay, so basically this is the resource section. Yeah, basically you can scan these QR codes. They are very helpful QR codes. But I'll drop the link right now on the link to all these codes. I'll drop it right now on the chat box so you can just check them out. Just a minute, I'll drop it right now. Okay, while I do that, let me just talk briefly on them. From the first QR code you see there, that is the QR code for the AWS Data Center. Just like I said, don't worry about the QR code. I'll drop the link right now on the chat box so you still get to follow without scanning the code. Yeah, the AWS Data Center is an hub for learning. AWS announcements before before a new product, a new service or stuff is launched, and even when it's launched on AWS, if you're on the data center, you will immediately you will know about them. You will be able to access them and even see news, upcoming AWS events. There are other interesting stuff in the data center. Basically, there there are like competitions. They organize like hackathons. I've dropped the link right now on the chat. Yeah, can you just react if you can if you've seen it? Just drop a indication if you've seen it. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I was saying the data center is just like a hub for AWS resources generally. Yeah. So moving on, the second one is skill builder. Skill builder is where you build just as it says skill, where you build AWS skills. You will learn about services. You will learn about different stuff. Most of this stuff are paid, but later on I will show you benefits. During the benefits section, you will see how you can access it as a student, even for free. Yeah, you'll see all that. Then the next one, join the community. The community is our meetup, it's our official AWS meetup. That is Futminna meetup group. You can check it out. Follow the community. Then you get notification when you are having events like this, or when you want to share any opportunities that comes up. Then lastly we have our WhatsApp community. Our WhatsApp community is a very active WhatsApp group that you can connect with professionals, share your observations, your learnings, and yeah, basically grow with professionals and fellow builders. Yeah, so that's about AWS, the AWS resources that we have right now. Yeah, you can just check out the link. You can go there even right now. Follow join the community. You can join the community if you have not joined yet, and connect with fellow builders there. Yeah, so moving on. Our next slide is about the main session. Yeah, um, yeah, our next slide is the main session with our guest speaker for today. Her name is Stephanie Albert. Yeah, so I've done a brief introduction. For basically, Stephanie is an AWS solution architect at Transnet Cloud, and an AWS community builder. AWS Community Builder are a group of professionals in AWS. Yeah, she's also specialized in cloud native architecture and DevOps automation. She has helped enterprise clients reduce infrastructure costs by up to 30% through AWS solutions design and cost optimization. Basically, what she has done here is help use our AWS skills to help grow like the speed of some of these leading providers where she worked at. She helps them grow their speed, their server uptime, and everything, which is something we can learn because it's really helpful in production situations. Yeah, she's also an AWS certified solution architect and security specialist and contributes technical content to the global cloud community through the AWS Leader program. Yeah, but I don't want to clap, but yeah, just react as she come on stage right now to give a presentation. Yeah, let's welcome her.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And thank you, John, for the introduction. Please kindly indicate with a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. So, as John has already introduced me, my name is Stephanie Albert. I'm a solutions architect at Transnet Cloud. And as we dive into this session, I'm going to tell you what a solutions architect is all about. And I'm actually very happy to be speaking on a very interesting topic, especially for beginners and students who are at the early stage of their careers trying to choose a path. And I hope this session will be insightful and educative to each and every one of you here. Please allow me to quickly share my screen. Okay, so I hope you guys can all see my screen. Okay, thank you. This session is all about careers and opportunities on AWS, both for students and also if you're not a student and you're in this session, this is also for you. I know John has already done the introduction of what cloud is, what cloud computing is, and what AWS is, but just permits me to just go over it again, especially for those people who are new or hearing about the cloud or AWS for the first time and still don't have any idea of what the cloud is. So before cloud computing came, let me just give a back history. Before cloud computing came, the traditional way of hosting or deploying an application on the internet required users or organizations to buy hardware components physically. And when they wanted to scale, they had to buy additional hardware components, like, for example, storage. And this was quite expensive and not flexible at all. So this is where cloud computing comes into the picture. Rather than buying your physical servers or compute or storage components or devices, you can rent one over the internet and pay for only what you use. So cloud computing is just the on-demand availability of IT resources over the internet on a pay-as-you-go model. It's just like renting. You only pay for the resources you use over a particular time, and when you're not using that particular resources, you don't pay for it anymore. And in the cloud, we have two different types of model. We have the delivery model and the public cloud. So delivery model is just means how these cloud services are provided to us. And we have the public cloud, which is just an infrastructure owned by AWS, for example. They own the resources for us, the infrastructure for us, and we just go and use it, and it's cost efficient. You don't need to own the hardware, devices, or components at all. Then we have the private cloud. The public cloud is not actually dedicated to a single user. It's for the public. It's for everybody, general use. So you can see multiple people using one infrastructure, but workloads are isolated from each other. So that's just to prevent interference or stuff like that. Then we have the private cloud, where the infrastructure is dedicated to a single user. And we have the hybrid cloud, which is just a combination of both the private and the public cloud, allowing organizations to keep sensitive data private while using the public cloud for scalability of other workloads and all that. And we also have the delivery model. Now, the delivery model is how the cloud is set up and who can use it. Remember, I said deployment model. I think I missed it up a bit, sorry. Deployment model is how the cloud is set up and who can use it. Then the delivery model is how the cloud is provided to us users. I hope I've straightened that out. Deployment model is how the cloud is set up. So you can set up your infrastructure on a public cloud, a private cloud, or hybrid. Then how the cloud is provided to us. How can we use the cloud? We can use it via infrastructure as a service. That's the meaning of IaaS, where you go and you rent the virtual machine. For example, services on AWS, where you go and provision it, like EC2, Lambda, S3, and so on and so forth. There are many of them. Those are infrastructure as a service. This simply means that you go and use the service, but you don't take care of the underlying infrastructure. You're not in charge of the underlying infrastructure. Your own is just to go and configure this infrastructure, this service to your taste, to what you need to meet your requirements and all that. And platform as a service, which is PaaS, PaaS, the service is already configured for you with the operating system that you need and everything, and all you need to do is just to deploy your code. Then we have SaaS. Many of us use so many SaaS applications, but we don't even know that these applications are deployed on the cloud. I mean, from streaming applications like Netflix, even our Gmail, Zoom, Dropbox, and so on. These are all SaaS applications, and they are deployed on the cloud. So it's already a finished software for us. The developer has already built everything. They are making it cloud native, and they are deployed it on the cloud, and all you have to do is just go and make use of it. Okay, so before I go into the various career paths and roles on AWS or on the cloud in general, I love using the analogy of a house, like if you want to build a house and all. So the first thing you do when you want to build a house is acquire a plot of land, right? And in this case, that plot of land is AWS, because there are many public cloud providers. AWS is not the only one, but AWS is one of the leading cloud providers. So AWS is our land that we are acquiring. And the next thing you do after acquiring a land is to get an architect. You hire an architect, you tell him what you have in mind to build. For example, you want a 2-bedroom apartment, how you want the positioning and everything to be like. So on the cloud, this is where the solutions architect comes in. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a solutions architect. So we, in a professional settings, when companies or organizations or users or startups, for example, they want to either deploy their application on the cloud or they want to migrate from on-prem to the cloud, we are the first people in line they meet. So they come and they tell us what they want, and we go and we design or redesign their infrastructure on AWS for them. So basically, what the solutions architect is just to bridge the gap between business need and technical solutions. We understand what business need and we provide technical solutions for them. And as a solutions architect, you have to have fundamental knowledge of each, if not all, but majority of AWS services, because you'll be providing um, solutions for businesses, for organizations, for companies to meet that specific requirement. It's just like going to the hospital and someone is sick and the doctor has to prescribe a drug. The doctor cannot prescribe any type of medicine for that person. You have to like prescribe the particular drugs that will cure that illness at that time. So this is what a solutions architect does. We design infrastructure on the cloud, making sure it's cost effective to meet business goals. So, for example, it can be a multi-tier application. It can be for high reliability, highly available. We collaborate with the dev team because we have to translate whatever we design to them. Okay, we provide architectural diagrams, we do cost estimates and also technical documentations. So that's the job of a solutions architect. Now, after you hire an architect and the architect has done the blueprints of your house, has done the plan and everything, the architect now hands over that plans to the cloud engineer and he interprets that plan to the cloud engineer. So in this case, the cloud engineer is the builder or the mason, the person who will build, provision each infrastructure on AWS on the cloud. So the cloud engineer builds, deploys, and maintains cloud infrastructure, manages services like servers, EC2, storage and database services like S3, RDS, load balancer, whether it's a serverless service like Lambda, and so forth, just based on the blueprint that was provided by the solutions architect to meet that particular workflow requirements. So I hope that I'm clear on this two career paths that I've mentioned. Okay. So next we have the DevOps engineer. Now, most times you see people giving themselves titles like cloud DevOps engineer. This is just because the responsibility of a cloud engineer and a DevOps engineer are kind of like similar in the sense that a cloud engineer can be a DevOps engineer and a DevOps engineer can be a cloud engineer. But the main responsibility of a DevOps engineer is to automate software delivery through pipelines, meaning they mostly deal with automation of workloads on the cloud to make it more easier to deploy workloads on the cloud. For example, if on the software team they have a new feature and they integrate it to the application and they need to deploy a particular service, so rather than building one from scratch or having many manual intervention, so the DevOps engineer builds a pipeline that is automated. So it bridges the gap between operations, okay, on AWS, between operations and deployments on AWS. So they mainly work with tools like CI/CD. You hear terms like CI/CD, containerization, Kubernetes, and so on. But it doesn't mean that a DevOps engineer cannot provision or build infrastructure on the cloud like a cloud engineer. Both of them can actually do the same thing, but there's still a key distinction between the two of them. Moving on, we have the security engineer. It's just like a house. You cannot have a house without a gate or a security personnel for security purpose to guide your house and all that in case of any robbery or any incident whatsoever. So this is where the security engineer comes in. And the good thing about being a security engineer on AWS or being an AWS security engineer is that if you already have a foundation in cybersecurity, you're good to go. Now, identity access management is the backbone of security on AWS. It simply means, IAM simply means just managing access to resources, who can control what services is allowed to have access to another services, and so on. So, and AWS has a responsibility model. Sorry, I didn't include that here. But there's what we call security on the cloud and security of the cloud. The customers, that is you making use of AWS, you are responsible for security of the cloud, while AWS is responsible for security of the cloud. You are responsible for security of the on the cloud, meaning your workload or anything you deploy on AWS, you are responsible for it. While the underlying infrastructure, AWS takes care of the security of that. So you need to have knowledge of encryption. For instance, encryption comes in, identity access management comes in, and some compliance policies, and so on. And also threat detection, threat modeling, incident response. This comes in handy as a security engineer on AWS. There are other career paths like data engineer and AI engineer, because now we're in the AI era. Everybody is integrating workloads, AI into their workloads. Everybody wants to use AI to make their work easier, faster, more efficient and all. And AWS is heavy on AI, providing like various services in AI. So you can even use AI, build an AI virtual assistant. You can build a AI RAG application, AI technical support, AI customer service support, and so on. These are actually applications or services that will actually help an organization or a business. So we have various services on AWS like the Bedrock, SageMaker, which are used to deploy and customize a model on AWS, and you could use it to make fantastic AI applications to solve a particular business need. We also have the data engineer. Okay, so a data engineer typically just builds a pipeline to collect, transform data, and this data can be used by a data scientist or a data analyst. So we have services on AWS that supports each and every each one of these career paths. I could quickly go back, if you allow me, from a cloud engineer. The key skills of a cloud engineer. There are over 100 or something services on AWS, but the core services a cloud engineer needs to know are S3, EC2, RDS, LEB, auto-scaling, Lambda, I didn't include that here, and also Lambda, DynamoDB. These are like core services that you need to know as a cloud engineer, because they are that one of the services that you use as a cloud engineer frequently when it comes to deploying workloads, they are the ones that comes in first. Then as a DevOps engineer, you need skills like Docker for containerization, Kubernetes for orchestration, and these services that supports this on AWS is AWS ECS, AWS EKS. You need services like Terraform for IAC, that is infrastructure as a code, rather than going to your console to deploy or provision your infrastructure. You can do it while writing codes. We also have AWS what's the name, customized service for this, which is cloud formation. We have GitHub actions for your CI/CD pipeline, and AWS also have their own, which is the code pipeline, and we have Jenkins. As a security engineer on AWS, the key skills you should know are IAM, because everything security, the backbone of everything on AWS in terms of security is IAM. You need to also know KMS. This is AWS encryption service to manage your customized encryption key or AWS managed keys for encryption. We also have Secret Manager, WAF, Guard Duty. This is for Security Hub. This is for threat detection. We have the Security Hub. We have Cloud Trail. This is to tell us who made what, who created what. It's just like a logs of all the API call made on a particular account. And for the data engineer, the key services you should know is AWS Glue. Now, AWS Glue is used to perform ETL, that's extraction, transform, and load. To extract your data, to transform it, that's to clean it up, and to load it or ingest it somewhere else, for example, a storage database. We have EMR, we have Redshift, we have Kinesis, and we have Antenna. So you can actually search up each of these services to know more about them in depth. Now, for an AI or ML engineer, we all know that to train our models on our PC ourselves is pretty hard, and it requires GPU and all that. So AWS actually have services for you to use a pre-trained model, which is the AWS Bedrock. And you can they also have a service where you can customize or train your own model, which is SageMaker. They also have Recognition, Comprehend, and Lex. Now, moving to the professional certificates. Now, before I go into this, I just want to say that having certificates without hands-on experience is, I won't say it's useless, but there's no point in that. I won't advise anyone who doesn't have hands-on experience yet to jump straight to acquiring any certificate. If you have hands-on experience, then acquiring certificates will be very, very easy for you because you have already done the practical application. So when you come to sit for these certification exams, it will be easy for you to pass, because this certificate is just a test of your knowledge. It's a theoretical test of your knowledge. Now, there are different categories here. We have the foundational, the associate, the professional, and specialty. The foundation knowledge is for those people who don't have any experience at all. Like you don't have any work experience at all. You're just starting out. This is the first step for a beginner, is to take the foundational certificate. And under the foundational certificates, we have the cloud practitioner and the AI practitioner certificates. So the cloud practitioner is just to test for those people who wants to be a cloud engineer. Even if you don't, want to be a cloud engineer, or even if you're going to an ML engineer, data engineer, or security, this certificate is just to test your basic knowledge of the cloud. It tests your basic knowledge of the basic services on the cloud to know that you fully understand each services or the core services on AWS. Then we have the AI practitioner certificate. Is there to test your knowledge of AI on AWS, each of the AI services, what they are used for. So you don't need to have any working experience for it. You can acquire those ones first. After the foundational certificates, we have the associate certificates. Now, these are role-based certificates, so they're actually categorized, and it's for people who have like experience already. So we have the cloud ops. This is for cloud operations. This is basically cloud operations engineer. And if you're going to cloud operation, like if you're choosing a career path and you know, okay, you want to go into cloud operations, this certificate is for you. We have the developer associates, we have the data engineer, we have the solutions architect, and the machine learning engineer. Then we also have the professional certificates. Now, it's for someone who has 2 years of cloud experience. It's already recommended that people who have 2 years of experience on AWS, after you acquire your associate, you go to the professional. And under the professional, we have the generative AI developer, we have the solutions architect professional, we have the DevOps engineer professional. Then under the specialty is just for people who want to dive deeper into a particular position, or if you just have curiosity in a particular area. But under this category, there are just two certificates, the advanced networking and the security specialty. Now, if I would advise anyone taking a certificate on AWS, many people go from the foundation to the professional. Is based on preference. Honestly, if you feel that you don't need the associate, you can jump to the professional if you know what you need. But the right way to do it is by following the foundational, associate, professional, then specialty. I hope I'm clear on that. Okay. Now, skills to build your career. I know many people reach out to me and say they have passion of building on AWS or being a cloud security engineer, but they don't know where to start from. I mean, there are tons of roadmaps on the internet, lots of information, but yet that can be very, very overwhelming for a beginner. So if I were to advise, or if I were to start all over, this would be my recommended roadmap for beginners. So first start with Linux. Now, Linux is the operating system, and Linux is an operating system, and most cloud infrastructure runs on Linux. And it comes in handy when it comes to troubleshooting. So you need to learn Linux as a cloud engineer. Learn Linux. The next one is networking foundation. Okay, you need to learn how to network on AWS, how services connect with each other, how services communicate with each other. Now, I always give this advice. You cannot be a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer without learning networking, without knowing how to network. Many people suffer from it when they learn other things or they jump to the top skills and they land a job and they have a basic or a simple task that's just to network or troubleshoot something, and they have little to no knowledge of networking at all. So you need to know what a VPC is, a virtual private cloud is, what subnets are, how the subnetting works, what is routing, DNS, all these things about networking, you need to know them. It comes in handy. The next skill I will advise someone to learn is scripting and automation. We know Python is used for automation, and we know Bash. So Bash, so you can learn Python or you can learn Bash, which is used for automation to make your everyday tasks simple. As a cloud engineer, it's advisable to learn how to write Bash scripts to automate repetitive tasks rather than doing them again and again and again manually by yourself. The next skill I would advise you to learn is infrastructure as a code. I talked about this earlier. Now, infrastructure as a code just reduces the manual usage of the console rather than going to AWS console to manually deploy your services, all those clicking and all that. So it helps you manage your infrastructure through codes. You use Terraform or CloudFormation and you code your infrastructure. And if you need to make any change to it, you can simply make reference to your code and do it again. And by doing so, versions are kept. It's like a template. You can redeploy a particular infrastructure that you provisioned earlier again and again, rather than going to the console to delete it, and if there's any changes or if you made a mistake, you have to go and delete your infrastructure again and redeploy it. The next skill is security. I spoke about that already. IAM, least privilege. You don't give access to everyone or you don't give access to everyone on the cloud, or give a role or user access to everything on your account or with your services. You only give access to what they need at a particular time. You need to know how to secure your resources on AWS. So these are the technical skills, the fundamental technical skills a beginner should know when starting a career on AWS. Then as you advance, that's where all the complex skills comes in. Then on the professional side, you need to know communication. You need to know how to communicate properly. Then there's also documentation. Everything you do, you need to document everything you do, because we are humans and sometimes we forget certain things that we have done. So this documentation helps us to we go back to the documents we have written, the technical documents we have written, make reference to it to remember, and also helps the next engineer understand what you have built. And documentation also comes in handy. For example, if you're starting out, you can also write an article and post it. That's also another form of documentation, because you're documenting how you built a particular app or how you did a particular stuff on AWS, and it helps other people who are learning or starting out on AWS. The next skill is problem solving. I mean, there'll always come a time where you need to work under pressure. So when something breaks, you need to learn how to stay calm and read the logs. Like, logs is very important. That is like your, will I call it a record of everything you have done? It helps you in debugging. You have a misconfiguration or you have an error, you have to go back to your logs to check the particular cause of that error to be able to resolve it. So without checking your logs, you don't know what you are dealing with. Or I know many people just copy the error command and just go to ChatGPT and paste it there. But you going through the logs yourself actually give you the idea of what you are dealing with. And sometimes you don't even need to ask the AI to help you out. It might be something simple and you can actually resolve it yourself. And learn how to ask for help from your fellow peers or a professional, anyone. There's no harm in asking for help. And try to be consistent in whatever you're doing. Like, no matter what, I know sometimes you might be discouraged or you're not feeling like doing it, but just try to be consistent. And one day everything is going to click and everything is going to make sense. So if you're starting on AWS, I know John has already shared some points on this. You could actually start with having an idea, and it can be something simple, something basic, or just simply going to the internet and looking for what other people have done and trying to do it in, if not a similar way, but try to do it in a different way, or try to think of another way that thing can be done, or if you can use another service to do the same thing. So you don't actually, that's if you do not have your own idea. There's no harm in having your own, not having your own idea. AWS also have a free tier accounts to help people at first, beginners. So you don't need to worry about the cost of anything for 6 to 12 months. And they give you free credits for that to cover the cost. Then we have AWS Skill Builder. This is AWS official learning platform. They have over hundreds of free digital courses that you can learn from, with also hands-on labs. So if you want to learn about a particular service, even a particular career path in depth, you can go to AWS Skill Builder. There's also AWS documentation. Every services on AWS have their own official documentation. This is like a guide for you. So if you get stuck, you can easily make reference to these documentations and they'll help you. And there are tons of YouTube tutorial videos that you can watch to also help you and to serve as a guide for you. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you everyone for this session, and I hope I was able to like educate you guys enough. And if you guys have any question, I think I'll be more than happy to answer you guys. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, please, I want to ask about AWS Bedrock, the one that you can use to access modules in AWS. So I was currently trying to access some modules through AWS, but then it was telling me that I have reached the modules quota. Like all of the modules quota is 0. So every time I try to access it, it just fails. And I don't know why. I researched and it told me that maybe it's because my account is new and AWS is trying to protect itself by uh, reducing the module quota to 0 so that people won't abuse it. Yes, yeah, I check. I've even converted. I changed my account to paid this thing, so paid plan. Yeah, I still have the same error to paid plan, and I even contacted their support. They said that they are checking it currently. Okay. Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes, so you were speaking about a group initially, I think WhatsApp group. So yes, so this meeting I just came across it on the status of one of my colleagues, so I joined the group. So I joined the meeting. So I'm not on the group. Okay, okay, thank you. Then you were also saying something about the build center or something like that. So how are we going to? So are we going to register or what? Okay.
Thank you, sir.